From Mountain Home to Raft River, we've got all the District 4 analysis you'll need to know. This is the Magic Valley Prepcast with Scott Burton.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, where we talk District 4 athletics and activities week in, week out in the great state of Idaho. We do this live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can watch this anytime on replay at those three destinations. You can also listen to this Prepcast at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts. Thought I was going to sneeze there for a second. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring on our Magic Valley expert, Scott Burton. Yo, what's up, Scott?
I tell you what, between the two of us, I mean, it could be anything going on. You sneezing, me walking into walls because I've got those things now. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, Brandon. Getting old sucks.
Yeah, and I would argue that Idaho hasn't made up its mind whether it wants to be spring yet or not. It was really
exactly. That is the double entendre with the nickname there, because I tell you what, before the week before spring sports started, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the minute that you say spring sports after that, it's like, I mean, it changes. It's like it's mad at you. And so now we're going to go through our second winter. And then we're going to get a little taste of like the third spring. And then we'll probably have like a fourth winter. And then we're going to wake up one day and be on hell's doorstep because it's going to be 105 degrees. So welcome to spring.
Yeah. And like baseball and softball, the opening day, as it were, was last Wednesday, March 12th. And it was actually like really nice. It was a nice day. And I'm like, okay, here we are. We're in the spring. And then, yeah, I don't know about where you live, Scott, but up here where I live in North Idaho, we got snow and had a lot of games get postponed and all that fun stuff. So,
we played a softball game, and I mean, it started snowing. I mean, big flakes, and it covered the field. I mean, people were hitting ground balls through the snow. But we all knew that if we want to play sports in Idaho in the spring, this is what we're going to have to play through. And so we stuck it out, and the sun came out for about 33 seconds, and everybody got happy, and then it snowed some more, and we finished the game. So There we go.
And with it still kind of being somewhat winterish, we thought we would spend today kind of tipping our cap one final time to all the teams that competed in the winter sports season, specifically at the girls and boys state basketball tournaments, because we had several teams from the Magic Valley that went over and came home with trophies. Some even came home with blue first place trophies, and we'll talk about all that here on the show. We usually do this kind of the week after state, which was last week. But Scott, as you could see when I almost sneezed as we started the show here, I got really sick, like at boys state basketball. And I'm still kind of like not all the way back yet. And so like, even at the end of the day, my voice will sound like this, and I'll sound like a chain smoker basically. So there was just no way I was going to be able to talk for long enough to do a show last week. So I appreciate everyone's patience and waiting a week for this.
Yeah. You were in bad shape at Boys State. And I didn't know if you were going to make it, but yeah, whatever's going around is lasting a while, and it's nasty.
Yep. It is. So with that said, we will get into kind of a regular spring sports discussion next week. And again, we'll kind of pick a couple of highlights, some noteworthy things that have been happening spring sports wise, and bring them to you here on the Magic Valley Prepcast. Before we look back at the winter sports season, the Magic Valley Prepcast is brought to you by Ideal, Idaho College Savings Program. This is perfect if you have a young man or woman in your home that's getting ready to figure out what life after high school looks like. You can open a 501 account with Ideal, Idaho College Savings Program, and that money can be used towards traditional school 4 years, 2-year school, a trade school, an apprenticeship, can even help pay off some student loans down the line. So for more details, you want to check out Ideal, Idaho College Savings Program. All right, Scott, let's start with girls basketball. That happened 3 weeks ago now. Well, almost a month ago, actually, now that we think about it, which is just crazy. But we did have a state champion from the Magic Valley. It came at the 2A level, the Oakley Hornets. Now, we did our girls basketball state tournament preview show on IdahoSports.com. As you know, we bring on the broadcasters and they talk about the different classifications. I'm merely the host. I'm just the traffic cop. Our 2A broadcasters did not talk about Oakley a lot on the preview show. And I'll tell you what, we sure put a bee in their bonnet, because I had more than one person come up to me at Girl State and say, maybe you'll start talking about Oakley a little more now, huh? Looks like the white line are over. And I was like,
maybe that was a strategic move, to fire him up and get him some locker room, material. And they were doing him a favor.
Yeah, well, it certainly did the job, because they roll to the title. They win over Wilder in the first round, 59-12. And then they take out the two White Pine teams from the north, Lapway in the semis by 9, 56-47. Prairie in the championship by 11, 62-51. This was an Oakley team that was really balanced. Some nights it was Masita leading the team. Sometimes it was Wadsworth. Sometimes it was Talon Beck. Dakota Wadsworth ends up being the MVP of the tournament after averaging 20.3 points per game and 3 threes per contest. But this was a really fun, overall balanced team for Oakley.
Oh, it was. And it's one of those teams that, can beat you in several different ways, And like you said, it's not just one person shut one down. Who's going to shut the other one down? But they do it really well with good defense. They do it with, a lot of, different people that can hurt you offensively. But I was impressed with just their balance and their defense all season long. It's a really good team. And you talk about state tournaments where the teams that are going to win aren't necessarily going to be the teams that have scored the most points in the regular season, because offense doesn't travel like defense does.
Yep. So Oakley comes through with the title. Dakota Wadsworth, the MVP. Adeline Masita makes the first team, all-tournament team. Livy Burlingay makes the second team for all-tournament. And so congratulations to Oakley. Valley was there as well, Scott. And Valley ends up bringing home a trophy as well, the third-place trophy. They beat Lakeside in the first round, 53-31. They lose to Prairie in the semis, 69-40, but they turn around and beat Lapway by 10 in the third-place game, 60-50. And they had 3 different players make the all-tournament team, one for each squad. Lexi Hudig on the first team, Joni Lewis on the second team, Alora Godfrey on the third team. So congratulations to Coach Malone and the Valley Viking girls as well for bringing home a third-place trophy.
Yeah, the Magic Valley did really well, bringing home a lot of hardware at a few different levels. And, Coach Malone does a great job with those girls at Valley. And, it's interesting to see anytime somebody plays in a third-place game, right? Because you don't know what team's going to show up after losing a semifinal. And sometimes teams check out, sometimes teams respond, but that third place game is always the most interesting one to me for that reason. But to Valley's, tournament, they got absolutely thumped by Prairie. So it's not like they lost a heartbreaker and everybody's, wondering what could have been. They were all wondering where were we? What did we even show up for this thing? So they had a little bit of motivation going into that third place game to bring some hardware home, and they did, and played really, really well.
Yep. So congratulations to the Valley girls. And again, that was the 2A state tournament. We might as well stay with the small school. Scott, let's jump over to the Class 1A girls state basketball tournament, where both Carey and Dietrich were competing. Dietrich was actually the district champion. Carey had to win and really survive that state play-in game against Tri-Valley, where Tri-Valley had 4 looks at the free throw line in the final 10 seconds. It couldn't hit any of them, and so Carey wins by a point and goes to state. But they end up flipping the roles at state. Carey ends up taking third place. Dietrich ends up finishing 6th as they got to the consolation final. So let's start with Carey. They beat Mackey in the first round in a tight game, 43-39. They lose a heartbreaker to Rockland by 6 in the semifinals. The eventual state champions, 38-32. They win over Salmon River in the third place game by 4, 42-38. So Carey was pretty much walking that tightrope the entire tournament.
Yeah, no, they certainly were. And they were battle tested right out of the gate. And boy, that heartbreaker to Rockland. I mean, that's the one we just got done talking about. You know, that third place game when you lose a semifinal is how are you going to respond after losing the heartbreaker? And man, it just goes to show kind of, you know, the coaching job over at Cary and kind of what those girls are made of. And, you know, you can't say enough about, you know, the Simpsons and kind of what they're doing for that team over there. But that's good leadership to respond like they did. And congratulations to Cary.
Definitely. And really, Rockland ended up winning the championship over Genesee in a blowout. So I'd argue the championship was probably that Cary Rockland semifinal battle. Allie Simpson was the sixth man on the all tournament team. Andy Simpson, of course, fantastic player. She made first team all tournament, and Heidi Rojas Esparza made the second team all tournament team. And then for Dietrich, they lost by 2 to Salmon River in the first round, 41-39. Just a gut punch for a team that had gotten to the state championship game last year, wanted to go back and finish the job, Scott. They lose by 2 in the opening round, and they could have folded, but they defeat Nez Perce on Friday to keep their season alive. They get to the consolation final against Chalice. They fall by 11. And that's unfortunately the way sports goes sometimes. You don't get the perfect storybook ending, and yet you can still find those positives even from a sixth place finish.
Yeah, you know, of course you can. You know, there's always a positive. You just have to know where to look. And it's how you frame things. And, you know, Dietrich had a great season. Nothing to hang their head about. Lost an absolute heartbreaker in that first round. And well, that changed the color of the trophy and everything. So, but a good season for them. And, you know, they had a couple of really good performances in the state tournament with Wanamaker and Van Tassel. And, you know, they'll be back. They'll be back.
Definitely. Caitlin Wanamaker, first team all tournament. Paige Van Tassel, second team all tournament there. Okay, let's go to the tournament you were at, Scott, the 5A tournament where Mountain Home and Jerome were representing the Great Basin Conference. We had, unfortunately, the two sides had to meet up in the opening round.
Yeah.
Mountain Home won by 11, 50-39, and it kind of set the teams on differing paths from there. Let's start with Jerome. Of course, that's the school you work at. From there, after that opening round loss to Mountain Home, Jerome doesn't lose again. They beat Sandpoint in a loser-out game. They beat a really good Skyline team in the consolation final, and the Jerome girls bringing home. I always forget, what color is the trophy for the consolation?
Green.
I don't know.
No, that's third place. So red, blue, black.
Something. Anyways.
Chartreuse.
It probably, you tell me, it probably had been a while since Jerome brought home a trophy from state and girls basketball.
Yes, it has. Matter of fact, I think it was 2011-ish, somewhere right in there. And I was coaching that team back in the day. That's how long ago it was. But yeah, Jerome really had a great season. They just had one Achilles heel, and it was Mountain Home. And Mountain Home beat them 4 times that year. And it's just so happened they had to face off in that opening round. In fact, that bracket in the 5A, I think, had 3 matches or 3 games in that opening round that were all conference opponents. Jerome and Mountain Home was one of them, but you know, the Tigers bounced back and they took care of Sandpoint. And then in that consolation championship, that was a really interesting game because I don't think really a lot of people gave Jerome a chance in that one, especially when you're going up against, you know, the likes of Shea Shippen, right? And boy, Jerome I think they held her to 2 points in the second half. And you talk about just getting tough and physical and playing defense. That's what they did. And they just separated themselves and won themselves a trophy. And it was, you know, good for them.
Yep. Pretty impressive performance. And then for Mountain Home, they get past Jerome in the first round. They have to play Middleton in the semifinals. Middleton ended up taking second place. Mountain Home falls by 9 in that semifinal, 60-51. They turn around and bring home a trophy with a win over Blackfoot in the third place game by 4, 40-36. So Mountain Home also came home with a trophy.
Yeah, they played really, really well, you know, and in that semifinal game to Middleton was the team that everybody thought was going to walk away with it. You know, even though they were not the number 1 seed, they were the team that everybody said, hey, this is Middleton's to lose. And, well, Pokey had other ideas. But that game against Middleton, they just, I think, I don't know, the way I saw it is Mount Home was it was out at the Idaho Center, a little bit shell-shocked, and took them a bit to recover, and but they showed really, really well. And then they played really well in that game against Blackfoot too. So Coach Keener, great job. A lot of weapons on that team, and they've got a lot of youth on that team still. So you're going to see them again.
Yep, could be the same two teams repping again next year at the 5A state tournament. All tournament team selections. Jensen Cook of Jerome makes the first team. Lexi Longhurst and Julie Donez from Mountain Home both make the second team. And then Sawyer Gerard from Jerome and Ava Johnson from Mountain Home each make the third team. The 4A tournament, Scott, this is our last one for girls basketball. Class 4A, we had Kimberly and Gooding both competing. Gooding goes 0-2. Two tough games. They have to play Sugar Salem, the eventual state champions, right away in the opening round. They lose in that game 68-28. Sugar Salem, by the way, the only team in Idaho this year, girls or boys, that went undefeated on the basketball court. Sugar Salem. And then so Gooding drops to the no, but I have to state it. I feel like I'm contractually obligated to state that.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
Right. We talked about this, in a lot of communities around Idaho, sugar is kind of a swear word. Oh, sugar.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
No, they are. I mean, sugar is just so good year in and year out.
Yeah.
So Gooding, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Gooding loses to Sugar, and then they've got to play Kimberly right away in a Lose Rock game. They're district rivals. Kimberly fell to Timberlake in the opening round by 8, 53-45. They beat Gooding in that Lose Rock game 62-41. They get to the consolation final and lose by 5 to McCall Donnelly 46-41. Olivia Rogers from Gooding made the third team all tournament. Hope Ward from Kimberly was a third team all tournament team selection. Taya Plew, first team all tournament selection, and Brooklyn Verway, the really promising freshman for Kimberly, was the sixth man of the tournament for Kimberly as well. And so we talked about it going into state. We thought Kimberly was like maybe a year away. Pretty young team still, a lot of inexperience in terms of competing at state. I think Kimberly's a team you really got to look out for next year.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, they've got enough youth on that team that it's going to be another great year for them, but they got some really good experience, and when you've got a young team, one of the best things you can do, no matter how you play, is you get to that tournament and you get to that atmosphere, you get to that stage. So, it doesn't feel so strange when you're there again, especially when you got a young team.
Yeah. We do have one comment here from Nick 3 in the house, our resident Moho fan on YouTube. Scott, Moho made history. Bringing home state hardware hasn't been done in 24 years. Crazy.
That's correct.
I think the wait might be a little shorter next time.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Yeah, we talked about that on the broadcast, but yeah, it's been a long time coming, and congratulations to Coach Keener and the girls, and
for sure.
Nice job.
Congratulations to all of our girls basketball teams that went over to state and competed and represented themselves so well. Let's transition to boys basketball, Scott, where we had not one, but 2 state champions, and we even had an all Magic Valley final. I don't know when the last time that happened, especially at the state basketball tournament, where a lot of times the Magic Valley is only sending 2 teams most years. But we had at the 3A state tournament, Scott, Declo and Wendell, old friends, competing this time under the bright lights at the Idaho Center. How did each team get there? Wendell beat New Plymouth in the first round by 9, 53-42. That's actually 11, 53-42. Declo defeated Ambrose Orofino by 20, 67-47. Then we get to the semis. Wendell beats Firth by 10, 57-47. Declo has this wild game with Ambrose, 52-51, where Ambrose has a shot to win it at the buzzer. The shot rims out, so Declo survives. And then we go to the championship, Scott, and how fitting. We couldn't even decide it in 4 quarters. We had to go to overtime, where Wendell finally pulls it out 53-50.
Yeah, what a year for Coach Kelsey and Wendell. I mean, playing your conference foe in the state title game. I mean, it says a lot about that conference. Now, and of course, we have talked about that conference many times throughout the course of the year because they joined with all those teams from the East, and yet they still emerge as the top two, right? And so you can't say enough about what Wendell did. I mean, it was their first state championship in, I think, 21 years. And it's just been a long, long time coming. And, you can't say enough about the Swainstons and what they were able to do for Wendell as well. So congratulations.
Yeah, it was a really fun performance. Jonathan Swainston of Wendell was the MVP of the tournament, 20.3 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, 5 steals per game. 5 steals per game. That's doing work, Scott.
Yeah, that is doing work. That's playing some defense too. And this one was just, I mean, a fraction away from going to a double overtime too. Because that last second shot, 3 at the end, just kind of bounced off the front of the rim, and that's how Wendell won it. But I mean, Swainston. Let's see what. Yeah, I mean, you talk about Jonathan Swainston and kind of his story, right? Who tore his ACL his freshman year and lost that season. And then his sophomore year, a meniscus tear, lost him that season. And now he's back in a full healthy season, his junior year, his first healthy season. And boy, did he make his presence known. I think he scored all the points for Wendell in that fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. And what a performance.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. And Swainston hits 2 free throws to put Wendell ahead 53-50 with 5 seconds to go in overtime. Declo has a shot. Like you mentioned, Gavin Rasmussen has a pretty good look from 3 to try and tie it and send it to a second overtime, but it bounces off the front of the iron. Declo, this was in like the late 90s, Scott. I don't know if you remember this. It was like late 90s, early 2000s. Declo won a state boys basketball championship on a crazy, like 3/4 court shot. So
they did. I think I was there. As a matter of fact. But yeah, that's right. That was a long time ago. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that was way back in the day. I think we've got an old clip of it somewhere, maybe on our YouTube channel or something on IdahoSports.com. You'll have to check. But anyway, so Declo, cards weren't in it for them this time. Wendell's first championship since 2004. And so we mentioned Jonathan Swainston was the MVP of the tournament. His twin brother, Jordan Swainston, made the second team all tournament. And then Martin Nava was our 6th man of the tournament for Wendell as well. Declo got 3 all tournament selections. Emmett Gibby and Carter Robertson both on the first team. Gavin Rasmussen on the third team. So Wendell won a state title. Dietrich won a state title, Scott, at the 1A tournament. They beat Court of Christ in the first round, Garden Valley in the semifinals, Chalice in the championship, and really none of the games were that close. Yeah, I mean, they beat Garden Valley by 8 in the semis, but they were in control the entire way. And then, of course, winning the state championship by 22 points. I mean, this was a truly dominant showing from Dietrich.
Yeah, and in that Chalice game, Chalice's best player kind of hurt his knee and was never the same. And the second he went out, I mean, it was like throwing Chalice to the wolves, and there was nothing that they were going to do because Dietrich just manhandled them after that, and it just cruised. And so, their third title in their school history, and I think first since 2016. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, and kind of a touching moment where, of course, Wayne Dill coached Dietrich for so long, 20 plus years. Passed away pretty unexpectedly 2 summers ago. His son, Slade Dill, now the coach. Wasn't that long ago that Slade was playing, but here he is coaching now, and leads them to the championship. The mantra that Dietrich knows so well, that Coach Wayne Dill instilled, was be somebody.
Be somebody, yep.
And Connor Perkins, after the game, our writer, Jason Shatraw, got him for a quick interview, and Connor basically said, "Hey, Coach Slade told us that we can say we're somebody now." So that was pretty cool.
That is super cool. Those are the stories behind the box score. Those are cool.
Yeah. Brody Torgerson was the MVP of the tournament, Scott. He averaged a double-double, 13 points per game, 16 rebounds per game. And again, Brody is like maybe 6 foot, 6'1", and just a tough dude that just refuses to give up anything inside.
Yeah. I mean, that is exactly what you need. And, and I sound like a broken record, but when you're going to win state titles in basketball, you better have somebody in the paint that knows what they're doing. And that can be physical and rebound and play some defense and be a rim protector, those kind of things. You need that in a state tournament. And boy, was Brody that guy. And what a great tournament. 16 boards a game. That's insane. But wow, what a performance.
I mean, in the championship, he had 15 points, 15 boards. 15 and 15. I mean, that's pretty good. So
wow. Good for him.
Yep. Connor Perkins was the defensive MVP, 9 rebounds per game. So you got Torgerson pulling down 16 per game, Perkins pulling down 9. I mean, yeah, good luck. You're getting one look at the basket and hopefully it goes in.
Yeah. I mean, that's what a good rebounding team will do for you. I mean, it may not be the prettiest stat that people want to collect, but I tell you what, it is the one stat that affects everything else. It affects your second chance points. It affects your confidence from your teammates shooting from the outside, knowing that we're going to get the ball back if I miss. But it also kind of puckers up the other team just a little when they know they're going to be one and done. I mean, rebounding is so crucial, and the teams that rebound are generally the teams that win.
Yeah. So Connor Perkins, defensive MVP, 9 rebounds per game, 4 steals per game. Chase Norman from Dietrich also made the second team all tournament. The 5A tournament, Scott, this is the tournament you were at. Twin Falls comes in as, I believe, the number 7 seed. They come away with the 3rd place trophy, which just goes to show that, hey, the seeds don't necessarily mean anything. Lewiston was the number 2 seed, Scott. They went 2 and out, including a loss to Twin Falls right away, 66-49. So then Twin gets to the semifinals. They fall to Hillcrest by 10. But then they play Bonneville, who also was kind of a surprise in that 3rd place game, and they win by 5, 63-58. So congratulations to the Bruins. I believe this was the first time they came home with hardware in some time.
Yeah, I can't remember what their last time it was, but this was a bracket that we talked about quite a bit. That just it wasn't right. This bracket was not right, and the very first thing that we noticed was that 2 and 7. Lewiston, the number 2 seed, and nobody knows based on what. Who have they played? How can you put them on the same equal playing surface as everybody else when you've got common opponents and whatnot? Yet they're the number 2 seed. All right, well, fine. Then you got Twin Falls, and we look at that and go, they are not a 7. They are so much better than that. The only thing that was really in agreement was Preston. they were by far the best team there. But for Twin Falls, I mean, what a gutty performance in that win over Bonneville. I mean, that's a team that had a definite size advantage on Twin, and how were they going to handle it? But they had a guy of their own that played really, really well in the tournament, and that's the young kid, Trey Billings, the 6'5" post player for the Bruins. Man, it's almost like he grew up in that tournament. And I mean, congratulations to Twin Falls.
Yep. Trey Billings was 1st team all tournament. Ty Hess, 2nd team all tournament. Riker Rex, 3rd team. So they got one guy on each of the 3 squads. Jerome was there as well. They were the only team seated below Twin, number 8. AJ Johnson made the 3rd team. And really, you mentioned it, the kind of the big storylines from the 5A tournament were, 1, the seedings were kind of messed up. But 2, it ultimately really didn't matter because it was kind of Preston's world and we were all just kind of living it. They were a clear number 1. And honestly, it didn't really matter who was number 2 because Preston was going to win that thing and they were going to win it handily. Jerome found that out the hard way, having to play Preston right away. They fall 64-33, and then Jerome falls to Middleton to go 2 and out.
Yeah, and Jerome was just one of those teams that wasn't supposed to be there, but even though they went 2 and out, it just did wonders for the program and the boys and the coach. And, you talk about a group of kids that you just love to death. They may not have a lick of basketball talent, but they're just great kids. They work well together. They're academic state champions, and, doing the right thing produced good results. And good for them, Jerome, to get there. Congratulations to Twin. But holy crap, that Preston team. it's like I think that they had one loss, and I think it was to the Utah Jazz mid-season. Right?
Yeah, no kidding. I like the way you described it. After 3 years away from state, and honestly, they probably should have been at state all 3 of those years. But after 3 years away at state, Preston announced they were back by pretty much kicking in the door.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun final call right there, because it flowed, but it was so perfect because welcome back, and we can talk all day about that conference, but you're right. They should have been there a couple of times during that drought. But man, oh man, you just can't say enough about how good that team was. They're huge. And in that championship game, they had 3 dunks. One was an alley-oop. I don't get it. Where did those kids come from?
Yeah, because Preston's one of the smaller 5A schools as it is enrollment-wise. So yeah, it's just interesting for sure. The 4A tournament, Scott, Kimberly was there. Filer was there. Filer went 0-2. They lose to Snake River and Sugar Salem. Kimberly loses to the eventual champ Bonners Ferry in the opening round. They beat Coal Valley Christian in a loser-out game by 11, 77-66 to keep their season alive. And then they get Sugar Salem in the consolation, and they beat the Diggers by 10, 55-45. So Kimberly takes 5th place overall. And this is something that grinds my gears. If you win the consolation trophy, you're 5th place. That's how I see it. You're not 4th place. We actually had a debate on our Facebook page about this. Like, well, are you 4th place because you won the consolation? No, sorry. Whoever loses the 3rd place game is the 4th place team in my mind. But either way, can I ask, where do you fall on that? Where do you stand on that?
I'm with you because even though your 4th place team will have lost 2 games, right? They were on the better half of the bracket. I mean, there's your difference maker right there. So what? You win 2 games on the backside of the bracket and the loser out. It's not the same. So I'm with you.
Okay. So Kimberly does bring home that consolation trophy by beating Sugar Salem. So congratulations are in order for the Bulldogs there. They had 3 players make the all-tournament team. Broden Anthony, first team. Gerwin Jeschke, the second team. Quentin Pettengill, also on the second team. Xavier Kelsey from Filer made the third team all-tournament. I'll tell you, talking to our 4A broadcaster, Scott, they just fell in love with Gerwin Jeschke from Kimberly, German foreign exchange student, 6 foot, 3-inch center inside, and obviously was a fantastic player. But just the storyline too was something they fell in love with. This kid from Germany that's a foreign exchange student for Kimberly.
Yeah, enlighten us on the story.
Well, I mean, it's just the fact that there's that adjustment to America, right? Speaking English, and yet at the same time, it's not just a kid, because sometimes you'll get a foreign exchange student that comes over and they tell you that, hey, be in all the extracurriculars you can be. And, I in my high school, there were some kids from Germany that were not good at basketball that were on the team for the experience. This kid is legit. He's like one of the top, he competes in one of the top youth leagues over in Germany, and 16 years old. Like, this is a guy that we're not done hearing from. He's going to go back to Germany, but remember that name, Gerwin Jeschke. I mean, he is 6'5" and just a specimen underneath too. So
he's a fun player to watch. I mean, he really is. And then, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to put yourself in those kind of shoes, right? It's tough to imagine, well, how would I be if I went over to another country and decided to, play basketball, no matter how good or bad I thought I was. How would the experience be? Because now you have to be accepted by those dudes, And when I was coaching, right around 2010, 11, 12, I can't remember. We had a foreign exchange kid from Italy. And she was a lot of fun to watch, but she was probably one of the most frustrating players that I'd ever had, because she could not even spell defense. I mean, she was using symbols and colors, and holy cow. I mean, yeah, you can put 20 on the board, but when you are giving up 30, your style is a little different. So yeah, and just kind of making that style adjustment too, jumping across the pond, I'm sure was difficult, but yeah, what a fun player to watch. And congratulations to Kimberly, the consolation winners over Sugar. And Sugar was just one of those teams, I think they got smacked in the mouth in that first round and never recovered, and just kind of downhill slid from there. But anyway, congratulations, Kimberly.
Yeah, Sugar's not used to that. So a little bit of an adjustment.
Trophy's not blue, then we're not playing. We're out of here.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap up with the 2A tournament, Scott. This is the tournament that I was at as I was making my way through my sickness. When the boys' state tournament started, Scott, across the state of Idaho, there was one team that was still undefeated. And by the time the first session of games was done on Thursday, there no longer were any undefeated teams, because Valley, who came in with a record of 22-0, falls to Grace, the 7 seed in the opening round, 43-34. It was just an absolutely stunning outcome, because from there, Valley wins over Hagerman in a loser-out game. They blow out Riverstone by 22 to win the consolation trophy to finish the season 24-1. Unfortunately, that one blemish came at the wrong time, and Grace had this 2-3 zone that just flummoxed Valley. Pedro Robles, especially, just every time he touched the ball, there were 2 guys there just on his grill. And so for Valley, it was just stunning to see a team that's normally so calm, cool, and collected just lose their composure for a little bit there, and it ends up costing them in the first round.
Well, you know what? And sometimes one of the worst things you can do going into state is not have a blemish on your record. It's hard. I mean, number one, you're going to have this giant bullseye on your back, and you're going to get everybody's best shot. But more importantly, you've never had to taste defeat. You've never had to, figure out how to respond. And that's tough on teams. And you see that so many times in a tournament setting. Undefeated, they'll lose because things just get tighter, especially when you're carrying that weight of no losses. And that's tough.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to see, but they did rebound. And like I said, they win the consolation final, which was great to see for sure.
Yes.
And then Hagerman comes out in their tournament opener, Scott, and they have a tough go of it because their star player and leader, Kai Kendall, well, he was kind of like me. He was feeling under the weather. He was not at 100% and battling the sickness. And Scott, all of a sudden, there's like 4 minutes to go in the first quarter of the tournament opener for Hagerman, the first time they've been at state since 2009. And Kai Kendall has 3 fouls already. And so he's got to go to the bench. And Coach Katie Knight, they're falling further and further behind. She has to roll the dice and put Kai Kendall back out there. Well, he picks up foul number 4. And then he is done. 4 fouls in the first half. And just... It sank Hagerman's chances.
It did. And, that's a guy that Hagerman could not afford to lose. I mean, he's the straw that stirs that drink over there. What a tremendous career he's had, and, over 1,000 points. And he's the guy that they go to when they need a bucket. He's the leader. And to have him on the bench, that's just pulls your heart out if you're Hagerman. But, they had to do it. Coach Knight had no choice. You're right. I mean, you cannot fall that far behind. I don't care how many fouls you have. You better get back in there and just try your best not to foul yourself out. But it wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to be.
Yep, it's a tough one for sure. And then they have to play Valley in the loser out contest on Friday, and they fall in that game by 7. Fun back and forth battle, and for Hagerman, just a chance to, after losing by some pretty lopsided totals against Valley throughout the season, to only fall by 7, I thought was pretty good for them. So,
Yeah, no question at all. You don't, want to be in, Valley's shoes in that situation because, my gosh, we have beaten this team a couple times, and what do they have to lose now? But it was a good game. It was a really good game. Like I said, back and forth, and Hagerman had their chances, but Valley got it done.
For sure. I got to learn a lot about this Hagerman team talking to Coach Knight prior to the tournament. And one fun story I wanted to share, and then we can get out of here. Hagerman, early in the season, Scott, took a road trip north to play Potlatch and Lapway on back-to-back nights in December. And of course, that's a long drive, right? You got to go on that 2-lane highway up the hill. There's not a lot of cell phone service. And Coach Knight actually had her players hand in their phones and electronic devices. And she said, hey, we're going to interact with each other as people. And she said, now you can earn your phones back by writing, singing, and performing a song for me. The whole team's got to do it. And that's how you can earn your cell phones back for the trip home. And so they worked on this song all weekend. She actually sent me a clip from her phone. This is her son, Kaysen, a freshman, you'll see, but you can hear the other guys singing, Scott. We played it during one of our broadcasts at State. I thought we could play it here as well. And be prepared for a musical performance that you'll never forget anytime soon.
Annoying, you are a bully. Believe when I say I want my phone back. Tell me why you're taking what you shouldn't take. Tell me why you're making such 25! Oh, I never want to hear you say, give your phones to Big Trey.
Yeah, very nice.
I just say 25, yeah. You saved us.
Wow. Wow. That is awesome.
No words needed, right?
None. I'm not going to ever hear that song the same way again.
Yeah. So that was the song to Coach Knight, of course. You're a bully. You took what it wasn't yours. Give us our phones back, basically. So that was the fun part there. And then you heard somebody in the background yell 25 randomly. That wasn't a random thing. That was another part of the trip. They were having to count 100 cars that they passed on the highway. That was the other condition. They had to sing the song and perform it. And then once they passed 100 different vehicles on the highway, they could get their phones back. So they're out counting 25. That's number 25. So they were still pretty early in the journey there. But
yeah, they were. They had a lot more time to work on that song. Maybe kind of get a couple of harmonies going, But
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. But, it speaks volumes to kind of what, Coach Knight does. And, I think more so to the culture that's going on over at Hagerman. And I know I've said this 1,000 times, but, talk about a community that is just going in the right direction after being in the wrong direction for a while. And great kids over there, great support from the community, great parents, and great respect for each other. And that's just another great example. Those are the things that make seasons memorable. That's what make teams great, are those little things that you do like that. And that's pretty cool.
Yep. So again, congratulations to all of our boys basketball teams, especially Wendell and Dietrich state champions in boys hoops, and all the teams that came home with trophies and competed really well at state basketball. And that, Scott, wraps up officially the winter sports season. Okay, Mother Nature, you hear that? Winter is over. And so we are ready to go full steam ahead into spring.
Oh my gosh. It's not listening very well because we've got like gale force winds that are polar ice right now outside. And we've got like Thunder Ridge and Middleton baseball are playing on our field right now. Just kind of a meet in the middle thing. And I called Travis Hobson this morning, and once I saw the weather, because it was just bitterly cold, wind going about 25, 30 miles an hour, thinking, man, nobody's going to want to play in this. And so I talked to Travis, and I'm like, hey, dude, I don't know if you still want to come down or not. It is blowing like crazy. It's cold. He goes, we can handle that. It snowed 3 feet here last night. And I'm like, okay, first world. No. So they're out playing. So yeah, it's spring sport.
All right. Well, we will bring you some of the biggest headlines from the spring sports season: baseball, softball, tennis, track and field, and golf. Yes, for the smaller schools, there is spring golf as well. So plenty to talk about throughout the spring here on the Magic Valley Prepcast. Scott, enjoy the sunshine. Yeah, enjoy spring break. Yeah,
spring break. If we do this next week, I'll be sitting in New Orleans. So, yeah, right on Bourbon Street. So maybe, just sit out on the balcony or something with Bourbon Street in the background and do our podcast.
All right, that sounds like a plan. We'll coordinate a time. Be on the lookout for that. And what are you going down there for? Is there basketball?
I'm going down to meet some friends down there. We went over Thanksgiving break and just absolutely loved it. And we are going back to this haunted hotel that we stayed at and requested the most haunted room that they got. And so we're going to go stay in that for a bit. And we're going to go catch a Pelicans Golden State game. We got floor seats to that. So we're going to get up close and personal with Steph Curry. And, we're just going to go down and tear it up for a while. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. At the Smoothie King Arena.
Yeah. One of the weirdest arena names that you're going to find, but whatever.
Yeah.
And the Pelicans are playing like it. So
yeah, no doubt.
They're not very good.
No.
So we're going to go down and take some helicopter tours and some Cajun food. And we're just going to tear it up over spring break and forget work even exists for a bit.
Cool. All right. Well, enjoy the sunshine and the weather down there. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. Looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
All right. Thanks for tuning into the Magic Valley Prepcast, everybody. Brought to you by Ideal, Idaho College Savings Program. For Scott Burton, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next week for spring sports season here on the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.